So I thought I'd get this video up today because, of course, it is Wednesday the 3rd of January. There are some rumors out there, spoiler, but not really because nobody actually knows. So maybe tonight on AEW Dynamite, Mercedes Moné, the former Sasha Banks, makes her debut. Now, as I found out on Twitter /X, cheap plug, Simon316, same on Instagram, you can't say that kind of stuff about Mercedes because there is a bunch of people who go absolutely crazy. Now, look, I'm all up for fandom, man, and if somebody does get you all passionate and inspired, you should follow that because who knows where it's going to lead, but we have to be able to have conversations like this. And let's take the tribalism and move it over here and probably flush it down the toilet for good. It doesn't matter where Mercedes Moné goes. If she goes to WWE, awesome. If she goes to AEW, awesome. I mean, there are multiple directions on the table, and ultimately, given what she has put into the wrestling business, I just hope she gets paid a lot of money because by and large, sports entertainers do not get enough cash. So make sure you get that bag. But we will start with the left path, which I'm actually now thinking is going to be less likely, which is kind of crazy, which would, of course, be going back to WWE. Now, I've got a much bigger video going live over on What Culture Wrestling about this. Make sure you subscribe. Little card just popped up there. But if she does go back to WWE, there is such an easy story we can tell, especially because, again, it's early January. We get to the Royal Rumble. She should be number 30 as far as I'm concerned. Sometimes do the most obvious thing because it will get the biggest pops, which is what wrestling is all about. She wins the damn Rumble. She then goes to SmackDown. She challenges Io Sky for the championship. And then what kind of faction warfare can you have here? It can be Sasha Banks and Bayley reuniting because, of course, very soon Damage Control are going to kick Bayley out. We've been teasing that since War Games, and that would make me feel warm and fuzzy on my tum-tum, which again is another reason why I watch wrestling. And also, we should crown Sasha Banks, if this does happen, as the champion at WrestleMania 40 and actually let her have a proper run with the title. Because again, you can go on the internet right now and read about her reigns, and somebody somewhere decided, well, you're only allowed to hold it for 8 seconds and then you must lose it. Probably one of the reasons she got so pissed off anyway. She is a super duper megastar. I'm not having that debate. Some people go crazy about this and I do not get it. And she should be coronated as one, and she should be at that tippity top level with the Charlotte Flair, with the Becky Lynch, with the Bianca Belair. That's where she fits in, and this would be lovely. And of course, it reteams her with Bayley. Don't forget what they did in the pandemic. They are super duper good together. So allowing them to do that in front of a crowd, well, you have to imagine it's going to be pretty good. It also means eventually we can get to Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks Part 2, and Part 1 was really good. And she can fight Dakota Kai and Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and everybody else. Now, one of the things I would hope to see, because obviously she wasn't much of a thing when Sasha Banks was there, is Tiffany Stratton has to be caught up at some point. I don't know what it is, just a feeling I got in my Tootsie Toes. I think Sasha Banks versus Tiffany Stratton as a feud could be really good because those two characters kind of merge together, but they're also kind of going to play off each other in a really cool way. So there is so much opportunity if she does go back to WWE. But on the other side, we're going right now, if she goes to AEW, there's arguably even more opportunities because right now, if there is one thing that All Elite Wrestling needs, it is a proper face of the company, babyface women's wrestler. Now, Toni Storm is kind of by accident going in that direction. It's so obvious she was meant to be a heel, but she's so damn entertaining. But, you know, you don't want to go too far against the grain with that one because it's working as it is, so we should continue going down that lane. But with Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné as she would be in AEW, absolutely, you bring her in, you present her as the biggest star possible, you make her the face of your women's division, and you push her as a massive babyface. Now that may change depending on organic reactions, but out of the gate, you do have Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné, which would be amazing. Britt Baker will be back soon, that rocks. Thunder Rosa, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, Serena Deeb's about to come back, Rio, Hikaru Shida. Like, actually, when you get into the women's roster in AEW, it is so damn good. And as Tony Khan talked about in one of his recent press conferences, when it comes to the TBS title especially, he's been trying to involve more women and build more stories around it. So if all of a sudden you bring in somebody like Mercedes and you can times that by 2, hopefully, which has been one of the criticisms of the company for the last couple of years, you can light a fire under the women's division, and there's no way, with all the people I've just told you, they can't cook. And if she does just randomly turn up on a Dynamite, that is going to create waves. That is going to create news headlines, and you want to make sure you capitalize on that moment, right? You want to make sure you capitalize on the opportunity because everybody can be reset. It only takes a couple of weeks, but you don't want to do that. You want to strike when the iron is hot. And actually, if we are talking about free agents, who is a bigger free agent right now than Mercedes Moné? I don't think there is one. Again, you want to be one of those weirdos, that's perfectly fine. You're allowed to be. But as far as I'm concerned, she has all the fire in the world to pick a company and absolutely take it to town. So if she does turn up, who even knows who she would confront? I mean, do you tease it a little bit more? Do you treat it like a CM Punk scenario where you're telling people, but you're not telling people? And this is one of the reasons I think that wrestling is so exciting in 2024 because we are 3 days into a new year. Everyone's going crazy about Mercedes Moné. Where's she going to go? The Rock just came back to WWE. It sounds like Andrade is going back to WWE. He's definitely left AEW. There's now rumors that TNA and WWE may have some kind of relationship, like nothing too deep, but they're going to do something. I mean, that could be baloney. We just don't know. And let's not forget, Wrestle Kingdom is tonight as well. And Tanahashi is now the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, which just blows my brain. I'm never going to get around with it. So it does feel like in order to set up your stall for the rest of the 12 months, you want to be getting these things done now. And look, if she has recovered from her ankle injury, I believe it was, Mercedes will want to get back to wrestling. She's very passionate about it. I'm sure she hated the fact she's been out for it for so long. So new year brings new opportunities. So yes, I totally believe she could turn up on Dynamite. And if we don't see her for a few weeks, then I'm going to start thinking she's actually in the Rumble. Because the dirt sheets or the news sites, whatever the hell you want to call them, they have said that WWE and Mercedes, Sasha Banks, were in talks at one point, but they weren't able to come to an agreement on money. And if Tony Khan all of a sudden says, well, I'll pay you that money, it could change everything. But at the same time, WWE was obviously also coming out and saying, no, we're not going to hire CM Punk. And then what happened at the Survivor Series? I think just for chaos and to make sure there is this back and forth tennis game, her going to AEW, I wouldn't say it's my preference, because as long as I get to see her on my TV, I don't care where she decides to work. I think she should do what's best for her. When I take a step back from it, and I like to view it as like some kind of a war, it would be kind of cool if she did go to AEW, because then you've got shots firing both ways. And never forget what that does do is it increases the amount of competition that's going around. When you have that kind of competition, as we've seen over the last 18 months, you get better stories, you get more money for wrestlers, and it's just a better time to be a fan. Like, wrestling companies right now are so confident with the, I use that word again, momentum that they have. WWE didn't even feel the need to advertise The Rock. The second time they've done that in 6 months, and I'm sure Tony Khan feels the same. He's like, well, I think I'm going to get a decent amount of people watching Dynamite, given that it is coming off the pay-per-view, etc. Maybe I can just have Mercedes Moné turn up. Now, the only reason I think that it may change is that originally the idea that some people had was, well, Mariah May needs a mystery opponent, and that could be Mercedes. I don't think you have to do that. You can finish the show however you want. Maybe Tony Storm is in the ring or somebody else. Maybe Britt Baker returns. I just don't know. Mercedes Moné can just interrupt. She doesn't need to say anything. She doesn't need to do anything. All she needs to do is soak up all of those cheers and look at whoever her first feud is, and you just know that everyone's going to go crazy. There's going to be a bunch of noise, and it does what all good wrestling shows should do. It leaves you a cliffhanger that says you have to tune into next week to see what's going to happen. And then if we get to the second week of January, and I know I'm going to get a Raw with CM Punk on it, and it's going to have a big build to the Rumble, plus I'm getting whatever Mercedes Moné is going to do on AEW, plus I'm going to get this, you'll never guess who's going to turn up to TNA thing that's also happening on the 13th of January, I believe it is. I just think professional wrestling is in such a great state right now. So let's make sure we affiliate people up with a bunch of companies like Deonna Purrazzo. She's out there too. There's another rumor saying she's going to AEW. So maybe we do an Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson situation where Deonna Purrazzo turns up and then Mercedes Moné also turns up. And you can say, oh, that's overkill. But look, Tony Khan did it before All Out, I think it was. And it is one of the most fun times I've ever had watching professional wrestling. So as long as those two individuals are happy with it, we should do it. As I've told you 1,000 times, like a damn Reddit post come to life. Like, if I had told you that's what AEW was going to do, you would have punched me in my bald head and nobody would have minded. You could have killed me. And when you explained the situation to the judge would have gone, you know what? It was a stupid thing to say. I understand why you did it. And let's not forget as well, I should have said this, she may not go to either company. Maybe she goes back to New Japan. Maybe she does want to go somewhere like TNA. I think there's less of a chance she does do that now, just because there's now extra speculation that Naomi/Trinity may be in the Royal Rumble and going back to WWE. So that seems like a more blurred line situation. But if I go with my gut feeling, I think it will be AEW or WWE. Make sure you let me know in the comments below what you think. And just because there's no point sitting on the fence, that's not what these videos are about. I am going to go with what the wind is telling me, and I think she will debut in All Elite Wrestling. And look, if I'm wrong, I still win, because she'll go back to WWE, and that will feel massive as well. But I do think it's a super exciting time to be a wrestling fan. And don't forget, even when we lock all these down, we'll get to another week, and there'll be a bunch of other stuff to sort out too. For example, Drew McIntyre. His contract is up after WrestleMania. And once again, you can be like, oh, he'll never go to AEW, but I'm going to go back to what I've already said. CM Punk was never meant to come back to WWE. And not only did he come back to the World Wrestling Entertainment, but he did so after getting fired by AEW. So as far as I'm concerned, anything can happen, and keep bringing me the noise, keep bringing me the chaos, keep bringing me the madness, because it makes wrestling so damn fun, and that's why I watch it. I watch it to be entertained. And in terms of the last 6 to 8 months, well, I think the entire industry been doing a damn good job. Now again, please do go nuts in those comments, hit the bell, the notification bell, so you know other videos going live. Click the video on the screen. That's the most important thing to do. It'll be me ranting and raving about wrestling, as you do know. Otherwise, if you are into fitness, grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon to get 10% off. I promise you, these supplements will help you just a little bit, like all supplements, but they're damn well made. Patreon.com/Simon316, Simon316 on Instagram and Twitter, Simon J. Miller on TikTok. I have merchandise, pro wrestling tees, and Samson Athletics. There is new tees on Pro Wrestling Tees, so make sure you check that out. And I do believe that's everything. Cameo, search for my name. I'll say happy birthday to you. Otherwise, please do interact with the video as best you can and just enjoy wrestling, even if you're desperate to see Sasha Banks back in WWE. Remember, she is a human being and she's allowed to make whatever choices she does want. Don't be the strange people on the internet that feel like they're in control of her life. I genuinely think you're a little bit weird. Goodbye.